Bum-ba-da-dum. Howdy y'all, welcome to BanjoBenClark.com. Today we're going to learn about something called counterpoint. What in the world is counterpoint? Well, I learned it growing up playing Bach on piano. But just the working man definition for it is whenever you've got two independent, distinct melody lines that are happening simultaneously. And it's not something that we hear a whole lot on banjo, but whenever we use it, it demands attention. And I think it's great for transitioning to new chords. I actually just demonstrated one there. Okay, so we've got two melody lines running toward the same chord, but from different directions. It's kind of like harmony. You could classify it as harmony, but there's more going on than that. So I'm excited to share that with you. For watching here at BanjoBenClark.com, you got everything you need, including the tabs that you can download. If you're watching somewhere else, I'd love to have you on board. I've got like 700 lessons over at BanjoBenClark.com. I've been doing it a long time. And if you're a Gold Pick member, you get access to all of those. So come join us. I'd be honored to have you. When we talk about counterpoint, we're talking about two different melody lines. I guess it could be more than two, that are moving and complementing one another, but they kind of have their own little mission. And when we think about that in terms of switching chords, we can come up with some really, really cool stuff. I just want to throw you an example. So if I'm on a G chord and I'm wanting to walk up to a C chord, there's lots of different ways that I can do that. I could just walk up simply. I could do it with a lick. Or if I want to use some counterpoint, it might sound something like this. So can you hear the difference? What I'm doing is I'm walking a melody line up that we might traditionally like to hear. But then I'm also finding another way to walk down to a note that's in the C chord. So that as this note walks down, or this line walks down and lands there, this one is walking up. And when they reach their end points, they've formed my C chord. And when it's played together. So we're going to make some fretting with our fret hands that we're not used to making because we're not used to playing these kinds of chords, these kinds of lines at the same time. But let's look at that particular one in our first line of our tab. And I've just built some of these counterpoints into an exercise that you can practice, but it's much more than that. I want us to just learn more about what counterpoints are, and then I want your help in coming up with some more that we can all share and enjoy. So if we have two measures of G, you see there start. And then I'm going to walk up with my thumb to that C chord at the same time. So that second measure there that we see sounds like this. Now we're going to walk to a D chord next. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have both of the counterpoint melodies walking toward the same note, which is this D note. Now, I could have them walk to various notes in the D chord, like we did with the C, but this time, just to demonstrate some variety, I'm going to have them both walk and end on this particular note. I want one to walk down from the top, and I want one to walk down from the bottom. Okay, so after we've landed there, measure 6, it's the fourth measure on that line. I'm going to start with that pinch, and then we'll switch these out, and then the next line we go there, but let's not switch tab yet. Let's just look at what's happened. The top line is walking down chromatically. The bottom line is kind of having to find some things to do to get there, and that's what I want to stress is that when we're using these counterpoints, there's not really any rules. They can walk in parallel. They can walk chromatically, like we're going to see here in just a little bit, some more of, or they can follow the major scale tones. It really doesn't matter. The point is to get you thinking about two different lines walking at the same time and ending with a common goal. Now, after we get to the next tab line, we've got a D going back to a G. How might we do that? Well, what I'm going to do is walk down from the top, measure 8, but I'll also find a way to walk up from the bottom. And when we do those both together, measure 8 sounds like this. That's pretty cool sound, isn't it? With a little speed. So let's play through that exercise that I've built before we move on. Let's see if you can hang with me. Starting at the top. 1, 2, ready, go. So I want us to notice that we've used some notes that were outside of the G major scale. That's okay. We're kind of getting done whatever we need to do to get it done, if you know what I mean. Now let's go to a different chord progression just to see what different counterpoints we can come up with and also what we might see in common. This time, starting in measure 13, we've got 2 measures of G, but we're going to go to a D chord next instead of the C. So what might that sound like? Well, here's one option. We've got a measure G, and then I'm going to walk up to the D note, and we'll land there, measure 15 that we'll see in just a bit. But this time I'm going to walk down to a low D note at the same time. Okay, so we're walking, this is definitely an inverted counterpoint. In fact, it's the same counterpoint that we saw in measure 8, just played backwards. It works out great doing it this way. So I'm walking up and walking down. And when you do both those at the same time, it sounds like this. That's pretty cool sounding, isn't it? So up to speed. Measure 15. Now this time I'm going to go to a C chord out of a D chord. And I just wanted to show you another variation of how we might counterpoint and to know and realize that we don't always have to have them going in different directions. We can have them going in the same direction. They don't always have to end on the same note. So I'm aiming for this chord in measure 17, and one way that I'm going to get there is just to walk down chromatically. That sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Now when you're playing that lick, maybe you've played it before. It doesn't sound like or seem like, or it's often called a counterpoint, but indeed it is. It's a type of one, even though it's more of just a double stop type harmony. It's not evident that it's a counterpoint, but it is. And then we're going from C back to G. We're going to borrow one of the counterpoints we used before, measure 8. So let's play this through the second chord progression and use these different counterpoints that we've invented. Starting in measure 13. 1, 2, ready, go. Pretty cool, huh? Let me give you one more that I just figured out as I was getting ready to record this lesson, sitting here in the chair, and we were getting the cameras ready, and I thought, oh, this is a pretty cool one. But this is up the neck. I don't have tab for it, but just use your eyes and ears for this one. So here's the G note, and let's say we're up here in the G position, playing some of those sweet G licks, and we just wanted to walk either into that G chord, or even if we're hanging over a G chord and there's no chord changes, we could use this. Let's find a way to walk down to this G note and a way to walk up. Walking down, I might do something like this. Walking up, I might do something like this. And when you put those together, it looks like this. So do you hear it? It could be part of your backup, be part of a solo. You could come out of it and play some more backup. Okay. So what other counterpoints might you be able to come up with? There's a G there, there's a B. We could walk up. You could walk up to any of your chord tones, and you could use it again to change chords like we've done before. So I'm excited to see what kind of counterpoints you might be able to come up with, record them in video, post them on the forum thread below, or tag me on social media, because I'd love to learn some of the ones that you come up with as well. And I'd love to hear these worked out in your arrangements, both in the lead and in the backup.